Hello and welcome to another MathCats episode. We're talking about some introductory grade 10 math, focusing today on linear functions. We're using IXL to generate some examples for us to make the discussion easier. Feel free to explore that further. Use your own application, own website that you like, textbook, whatever, but you do need to practice these things a little bit further than what we're going to do in this short video. So let's talk about some linear functions. Well, the graph of a linear function is a perfectly straight line. A key feature of this function, this graph, is the slope. And very loosely speaking, slope is the change in my output variable, my dependent variable, over the change in my x variable, my independent variable. So when I look at a graph, I can look at 2 points, for example, that I can read off easily. This one. Let me just see if the question is saying anything more. It's asking what is the slope. Okay, so we have to do that visually and simplify your answer and write it as a proper fraction, improper fraction, or integer. All right. So, as I said, we'll look for points we can read off easily. Maybe this one's a pretty good one. Looks to be 1050. And what else do we see? There's one here. There's one there. We might as well take this one. And then we'll use that one to check. Let's do that. So this will be our point number 1 and our point number 2. So when we're going to look at the change, we're doing, very roughly speaking, 2 minus 1. That is the change. So in this case, my slope will be the change in y, the second y value minus the first, so 60 minus 50 over, that's the change, 10, going from the first point to the second point. And the change in x will be the second x value is 40 minus 10. What do we get there? We get a 10 for the top. We get a 30 for the bottom. So we can simplify that very easily to 1/3. Now, it doesn't really matter how you write this. Improper fraction, integer if it happens, decimal even, though I don't want to round a decimal number ideally. So let's check it by using the little square. And let's say we're using the second point now as our first point and the square here as our second point. So then the slope will be, just get the most out of this question, then we don't have to do that many. Change from first to second. So change in y is at the top. Second y value is 70 minus 60 over change in x. Second x value is 70 minus 40. And this shows you 10 over 30 again, 1/3. It's the same. It doesn't matter which 2 points you take. Now, I don't want to take these middle ones because I don't know exactly from the graph what they are. I need to know exactly, make sure that the point sits on the line. But I can take any 2 points, and the slope is a feature of the function, of the graph. It gives me the proportional change. If I'm going to change, one way of saying it, if I'm going to change horizontally by a certain amount, then I need to change vertically by a proportional amount according to the slope, a 1:3 proportion, to get back to the line. So that's the slope, very important for my linear function. Now, we didn't put in our answer yet, so let's do that. We need to scroll down a little bit. So I'll go 1 over 3. That is our slope. And we'll submit that. Awesome. Beautiful. Now I do want to get through a couple of variations here. So I'm going to leave this one to you. Let's pick the points though. We can pick any 2 points. We can pick this one. Let me color some point options for you. To calculate the slope, I can use that one. I can use that one because they're easy off the graph. That one, that one. Oh, they're all easy. So you can take any 2 of those and the slope will be exactly the same. You can do this on your own. Let me know in the comments what you think is the slope for this first question. But we will, let me just get rid of the dots. We will go to the next one, which is find the slope when they give me 2 points. Now, I can't always use the graph to read off the points because I have to know them exactly. I need to use only points that are on the line. So it is arguably a little bit more common, especially as I need to graph it later to give me points, and I have to calculate the slope. So slope here, I'll again emphasize change in y over change in x. People call that different things. They call it rise over run. They call it more symbolically delta y, delta x. It's all the same thing. I don't care. I don't care what you call it, as long as you remember that the y change happens at the top and the x at the bottom. So now I have to pick a first and a second point. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do both. I'm going to pick this one first because it was written first, and this one second. I'm actually just going to put this all in one line so I don't run out of space. It's always second minus first. Based on your choice, you now have to stick to that choice. Change in y from 6 to 1, so second minus first. Change in x, 10 to 1, second minus first. So what do we get here? We get a negative 5 over negative 9 that I can simplify to 5 over 9. Let's just to see, because people aren't always convinced, what if I choose this as my first and this is my second? Then we would get the slope, again, change in y over change in x, 2 minus 1. Y will be 6 minus 1. 10 minus 1 for x. And that is 5 over 9. It is the same. It doesn't matter which one you choose as first and second. But once you've made the choice, you have to stick to it. We can write it as a proper fraction. We have our 5 over 9. Let's do it. Boom. 5 over 9. Of course it's right. We have another one here. I don't want this video to take too long. Pick your first and your second. It doesn't matter. But then stick with that choice. Calculate the slope. Let me know in the questions. This is a question. Let me know in the comments what you think this answer is. Little variation, instead of a graph, we're given the 2 exact points, and we may need to graph it later. But one thing at a time for now. I have one more variation that I want to quickly do. Find the missing coordinates using the slope. So this one is a little flipped around. I have the slope, and I have 2 points, sort of. They're not complete. I want to find that missing coordinate. They call it S in this case. Now remember, I'm going to pick. I'll pick this one first, this one second. Why? Because they were written like that, and I know it doesn't matter. So now, again, I'll emphasize slope equals. Call it whatever you will. I call it change in y over change in x. You can call it whatever you want. We're going to use it all the same. Now the slope is negative 6. Why am I writing it so low? No. A little higher, just in case I need more space. Change in y. Second minus first. 4 minus s based on my choice. Now that looks like a 5. I am in trouble here. I'm going to back that up, and instead of S, let's call it, I don't know, something else, because my S's and my 5s look very similar. I'm going to call it K. That's very recognizable. I have a problem with S's and 5s, and I don't want to confuse you. So I'm going to call it K. That's easy to spot. Second minus first for the Y coordinates. Second minus first for the X coordinates. So now we can maybe simplify this. -6 equals 4 minus K over -2. I'll multiply both sides by -2 to get rid of this denominator. Now, that's not the best way to write it. Let's be honest here. When it comes to multiplication, I like to write it in line here. Ideally, I want more space, and that's okay. Let's make more space. I can erase this. -2. Multiply on both sides. Then I get, for the left side, I get a 12. And for the right side, I get my 4 minus K, because those canceled. I like my variable on the left, so I'm going to flip everything around because I feel like it. And I like to create good habits, always do the same thing. Variable on the left when I'm solving it. Personal choice. Personal choice. Then I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides because I want to get rid of this 4, which is currently positive, to get a -K equal to 8. And again, there are other paths to get to this answer. This is not the only one. Now I'm going to divide both sides by -1 because the K is being multiplied by a -1 currently, and I want to get rid of it. So K is therefore -8. Now we called it K and not S. Who cares? Who cares? Get rid of that S. My S was going to be mixed up with a 5, so I did not like the S. Let's type it in. -8. So a little variation there. A little variation, but the same slope formula. Brilliant indeed. Now exactly the same thing. Luckily they don't use an S again. You can try the exact same thing on this question. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any questions, comments of any kind, I welcome all feedback. We'll end with a little blurb highlighting what we're all about, and then we will wrap things up there until the next time.
Welcome to MathCats, where we aim to better understand mathematics. Join us weekly for discussions on elementary, high school, through to university math. You can request the next topic by leaving a comment on our YouTube channel or by emailing us at mathcats314@gmail.com. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.